In this video, I want to go over some of my thoughts and theories I have on the lemons throughout the game's chapters. I was thinking about doing this theory sooner, but decided not to. My first time seeing the lemon, I thought it was a hint to the second game. Then I had heard it was just a joke that Mob had added. I still thought it had to do with something, but wasn't too sure what. Until Chapter 4 came out, that is. Seeing that Mob had added a physical lemon to the chapter made me really get to thinking that this lemon stuff has to be a part of the game. But how? I was rereading the Poppy Playtime notebook, and one page got me thinking about who might be responsible for the lemons. Disclaimer: these videos are just for entertainment and should not be taken seriously. These are just my thoughts on this situation. So please, don't take this as fact nor dismiss other theories. Thank you. When playing Poppy Playtime's chapters, we never seen much about the lemons. We do see a glimpse of them at the very end of Chapter 1 after defeating Huggy. Going towards the flower, we're able to see a hidden lemon on the catwalk below us. Since they updated it, they have made it much darker. It's a bit harder to see now, but it is still there. That's all we really see about the lemons. Until we get to the third chapter, that is. There are lemonade drink machines everywhere, even a hidden lemon behind the window in one of the classrooms. But what could this be? Could it just be a joke? Or is it much more than that? After finding out that there were multiple locations where the lemons are hidden, I knew there was something about it that just seemed like a hint to something. But what could it be? A lot of people thought it was just a hidden joke that Mob had put there. I thought the same as well, but now I think we all know there's more to it. Going over the locations of the lemons, the only way to really see them is no clipping out of the game. Who would want a no clip? The people that want to see and know more about the game and lore. This theory may be a stretch, but I feel like these lemons may be connected to something in the game somehow. Hear me out. We know these lemons are everywhere, we are only able to see that they made lemonade drinks. At this point, knowing that Playtime Co. was experimenting on whatever they could get their hands on, seeming to perhaps have a child and a wild animal that makes up Huggy, Kissy, and many other of their creations. I know it's a bit of a stretch, but just stay with me here. What if they somehow were able to make a toy that was capable of working and growing fruits at the same time? They made a toy that could talk back to you. One that can hug you back. They even made one you can feed. Mob even mentioned something like that in their book. More on that in a bit. I think the only possible way this could be is if it were with Daisy. If we take a look at page 49. In the official Poppy Playtime Orientation Notebook, it explains how Daisy was a marionette in the form of a flower but was rejected for being too scary for the kids. What if Daisy was supposed to be designed to look like a lemon flower, even going so far as to making lemons, but came out looking more like a daisy instead? After all, it does say, in the form of a flower. If we look at a daisy and a lemon flower, they do have some similarities to them. So it wouldn't be surprising if they missed a few steps while making it, or wanted to make it functional but didn't go according to plan. So they decided to take it off the shelves for now, and maybe come back to it another time. After all, on the next page it seems to have hinted that another flower was made, but they never worked out what he was meant to do. He's just a flower in a pot. It doesn't do what it was supposed to do, perhaps? So it serves no purpose to them. What if Daisy is the one that has been leaving these lemons around? Maybe these lemons are her way of seeing around the factory. It also mentioned that Daisy was a marionette. If we take a look at how long the marionette toy has been around, it seems they have been around for centuries but had a comeback in the 1920s. If you know your history, you will know around that time awful things had happened. Maybe that is how Elliot lost someone. Maybe that's why Elliot decided to make Playtime Co. Perhaps he wanted to cure hunger by making a toy that can naturally grow food on them and try to bring joy back to the world at the same time. But it wasn't successful, so he kept trying, until he was. What if Daisy was supposed to be the face of the company, the hit new product to put Playtime on the map? Considering that marionettes were more popular around the 1920s, and how many people couldn't have access to food regularly? To me, it seems as if Daisy was the one that was supposed to be the flower of the company, but the children thought she was too scary. So, they scrapped everything and deemed her as a reject. If Daisy was supposed to be the face of the factory, then what happened to her? If the world of Poppy Playtime takes place in a similar timeline to our own, it would be around now that World War II starts, likely forcing Playtime Co. to shift from making toys to making something more for the war effort. If this is the case, it likely would have played a part in scrapping Daisy. By the time they could reasonably restart toy production, it would be close to the 50s, around the time Poppy came out. What if Playtime Co. wasn't intended to be a toy factory in the first place? Perhaps it was just a cover-up for the real reason. We don't know exactly when the company started. We do know it was sometime in the 1900s.
It all began in the fateful year of 19...
The oldest toy that we know of is Poppy. She had been manufactured in the 1950s, years after the war. That still leaves a question. Where did the children come from? Given the time period, there could have been many children orphaned due to the Great Depression and World War II. Early on, taking in orphaned children could have just been an act of kindness. However, we know that kindness eventually fades and twists into the terrible experiments that led Playtime to its downfall. Let's look at some of the reasons why that could be a possibility. As we go deeper into the factory, we see how much more there is to it. To me, it seems as if they were looking for something. But what could it be? What if Playtime was a military weapon facility instead? The massive expanse of caves beneath the factory don't all seem to be natural. I believe Playtime Co. was actively mining out the caves, not just to make new areas, but to gather raw materials for production, potentially keeping everything powered as well. Such an expansive facility would require a lot of power to keep running. Power that might come from a nuclear source, like the abundant amount of uranium likely to be mined from all the caves. With that and plenty of other raw materials, Playtime could research and develop anything they wanted to. They would have more than enough resources for both the war effort and their own interests. What if after the war was over, they went back to making toys? But not just any toys. What if the real reason for making bigger bodies was more than just helping out in the factory? Perhaps these bigger bodies were not just to replace people in the workplace, but on the battlefield as well. That's probably why they cherish Poppy so much. She is the blueprint for a successful toy, a successful step towards that goal. Knowing that Poppy is the face of the company and seems to be the oldest that we know of, what if Poppy was the one that became Daisy's replacement, thus making the company successful with a talking doll instead of a marionette flower? Does that explain why Poppy was treated like she was special? She was the one that came out successful, and Daisy was just the practice experiment, making Daisy the prototype of the company. I know it's kind of confusing, but it will all make sense soon. Taking a look back at Chapter 3. When listening to the reports on the radio, they announced that they had found the body of a young boy in Elliot's home.
Tragic news this morning. As of 9:45 a.m., local authorities report that the body of a young boy has been found on the...
What if that was Elliot's son, and his name was Oliver? Ollie for short. We don't really know the timeline that this report happened. All we know is it happened. What if Daisy's real name is Ollie? In my Ollie theory, I had mentioned the colors of the names that I found rather interesting. Poppy's name is red, Mommy's is pink, Catnap's is purple, and Hoppy's name is light green. I had also theorized that Ollie could be a boogie bot. Though that may still be a possibility, I think Daisy could be a theory as well. Looking at this poster, the green is rather similar to the green used for Ollie's name. What if Daisy and Poppy were friends? Maybe, once Poppy was made, she was forced to work with the other creation, even though it wasn't finished. What if Poppy was scared at first but saw that Daisy was just as scared as she was? So they comforted one another, becoming friends in the end. Without even knowing they may be siblings or maybe even more, their own half. Maybe they tried to escape once, but were not successful the first time, so they planned to make one that would. Perhaps because of this, they were separated, putting Poppy in a display case and Daisy in a cell. Could this explain the hour of joy? They were clearly tired of being tested on. They wanted to make an escape, so they would never have to worry about being hurt again. But things took a turn instead. Maybe Daisy was wanting more than just to escape. What if she wanted to take revenge? But Poppy didn't want to do that. When you think of a marionette, you think of a doll on strings, right? Perhaps this doll is the one pulling the strings instead. Some marionettes even have old-fashioned wind-up keys to make them move on their own. What if the prototype is Daisy? The prototype is definitely pulling strings behind the scenes, all too fitting for a marionette toy. Or, at least what used to be a marionette. The prototype has been making a new body after all. Seems quite fitting. An unfinished marionette toy, pulling the strings of others, while making a new, complete body. Seeing as Poppy used to be close to the prototype, it would make sense as well. Think about it for a minute. Both Daisy and Poppy are named after flowers. We see multiple instances of poppy flowers paired with other flowers. This could have been implying what has been hinted at already, that there is someone else who is significant to Poppy, and they too might have a flower theme. From what we see at the end of Chapter 4, the prototype is definitely significant to Poppy.
It's always been about you and Poppy. What we are.
Why do I think Daisy is the prototype? Well, going back to Chapter 3 again, before or after defeating Catnap, there is a tape that has Sawyer talking to the prototype. In that tape we can hear what seems to be the prototype winding up to talk. If we listen closely, it kind resembles the sound of an old wind-up toy.
I possess
A question.
Go ahead.
Do you feel anything? You stick us,
Beat us.
tear at flesh.
Do you feel it? You thank me?
Absolutely.
I learn something new about you every day.
Could this be a hint that the prototype is Daisy? Daisy is a marionette. What we know about marionettes is that they are very old toys. We don't see much about the prototype. If they are one and the same, that would explain why we don't see much of Daisy either. Now, you're probably saying that it can't be possible. The prototype is a boy and Daisy is a girl. Yes, that is true. However, what is there to say that Elliot had a son but wanted a daughter? So he tried making him one, but did not succeed the first time, till he made Poppy, thus making Poppy the favorite, and the prototype, the unwanted one. Perhaps this is why there is a figure of Daisy in Elliot's office. It could be a reminder of what was forgotten and unwanted. It could be nothing, a character worth a few notes and nothing more, just to flesh out the world a bit more. Or it could be just the slightest, subtle hint that this seemingly unimportant flower has been pulling all of our strings all along. Friendly reminder, these videos are just for entertainment and should not be taken seriously. These are just my thoughts on this situation, so please don't take this as fact nor dismiss other theories. Thank you for watching.